Welcome everybody to another episode of People of Penang. And today we have here Mr. Gusto, Jason Selvanayagam. Well, we don't know how to introduce him, but currently he has a coffee shop, a community coffee shop. But he's not just that. As you're gonna hear, he's a man of many interests.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
he just does he know that he's a man of many interests? I mean, like
He will find out on this show. This is a
feels
show
like you went
about
to his profile and he's
discovering
like,
yourself.
yeah, okay, I just
we
wake
help
up every
people
day.
discover themselves. And here with me is our co-host.
Of course, the usual Mo Nazrul, and this time Eugene is doing the intro because he has a more intimate understanding who Jason is. But I decided to reveal this only now. Jason, do you remember that one time there was a band called like Lightning Thunders? It was an AC/DC cover band. You had a
Yes, you were there. I remember you singing.
Oh, so you do remember. Oh, wow. So, I have evolved since then. There was a lot of personal growth. So I would like to say that at that point in time, that was my rock and roll phase.
Okay. And you've decided to
venture
call it quits
into the NGO world and movements and campaign, and of course meeting up with people like Eugene. So that's why this is like a nice sweet reunion because it's been 8 years.
Yes,
Exactly 8 years.
Has it?
It's been 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me share how I, get to know Jason. He is basically a drug pusher.
What? What?
It's called caffeine. He's been drugging
Oh my
Tanjung
God.
Bunga with
I
caffeine for
thought
the
we just-
last 12 years. So
I just thought we became Vice.
Yes.
I mean, nothing wrong with that,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
what?
So hence the question, early on, I said, so what are we allowed to say on, the show, and what are we
we can
not
say
allowed to,
anything.
just in case,
Yeah.
I didn't want to overstep, because I didn't want to, have my business,
Oh no, well,
taken out from me.
well, the funny thing about this podcast, right? We want everybody to be in their natural form because we want to understand you as a human being. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So whatever you say is your responsibility.
Oh,
So if you want to be a potty mouth, go for it. If you don't, we won't judge you.
hang on, Eugene.
Yeah.
Then I am gonna start taking an issue already because you're calling me a drug, pusher.
Well,
caffeine is the most popular drug on
I was just about to say that.
Yes, yeah.
right?
It is. I just now need to stand on the street
Yeah.
corner and start peddling it. Right.
So for those who don't know, there's this nice community cafe. It's been there since the beginning for some reason. People call it community cafe because Jason here is, at one time he said he's a community builder. He doesn't just, give you coffee to wake you up. He builds communities.
Yes.
A community
But
of,
how does that work, if you don't mind me asking? Like, compared to a normal cafe, a community cafe versus a cafe?
Well, we were working on the whole concept of the cafe and what we wanted to do and what we wanted to be known for, right? I'm not a chef. I'm not a trained barista, so to speak. And nowadays there's like tons of people who can make a good cup of coffee, can make phenomenal food. What's gonna make my French toast stand out? Like again, anybody can do that.
Yeah.
Like you can do that at home, right?
Well, not as well as you probably, but yes.
You got an ex-Australian cop, right, to cook up your drugs?
Yes,
On premise. Yeah, he has a
I do.
roastery.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder what would you drink
Chris,
this morning?
Yes.
If you're
I think
listening-
he had a couple too many coffees. I should.
He feels like he's on espresso today because his innuendos are spot on.
So the sort of whole thing, when we're thinking through this whole concept, like what would make us different? What would make us stand out, right? And the heart of the matter was that we wanted to be involved in our community where we were at. We didn't want to just make it so that people come in, drink a cup of coffee, shoot out the door, or eat some quick eggs and then take off, right? So instead of doing that, hey, come in. Oh, Eugene, this is Eugene. Eugene, meet Mo. Eugene does all these things, that possibly could have some ties, or links, that you could, So how about you guys connect with each other and talk through some stuff?
This is like serendipity.
Serendipity.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a
you look at Apple's
serendipitous situation.
headquarters. They say that it's built as a circle because they want people to, meet people by chance. They're like great ideas.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people at this cafe. Man.
It's kind of funny how you use the Apple Center as like you build a structure just for facilitating networking.
Yeah, because if you have to cross it to meet, you're gonna meet people.
Because I was thinking about another structure, like the Pentagon. They said that they purposely made it monotonous looking and all these angles to give a sense of nervousness.
Yeah.
Because it is about military, so they always have to be on edge.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
I thought that was... so did that have any factor with how you would design your cafe? Because you had a very specific plan, and it's beautiful. Because I nothing wrong with doing things for profit.
Yeah. Of course.
But there is a certain degree of altruism and sacrifice that goes into building a community.
Yeah.
Especially laying down the ego, a more democratic way of living as opposed to monarchic.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Sundar. That's very monarchic. Of
course.
One CEO to rule them all. Or chairman. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, like, did you think about, like, when you opened it, we must have a couch, man, just to facilitate things?
We did. We thought about how we wanted to kick things off and all that, and we started off with a really, really small budget because what happened was I was supposed to start off with a partner.
Yeah.
And he ended up having to leave and go back to New Zealand. And so we ended up having to, take on the entire, load of the finances. So it took me in actual fact, about 5 to 6 months before we actually could open our doors because of that. And so, so over that time, I had to come in, build, things by hand by myself as well. So our kitchen, if you go into our old space, and you stand outside, you look to your left and there's a brick wall. Don't look too closely.
Why? What's on the brick wall?
Because it's my handiwork.
So
you might see, waves and,
But even with all the imperfections, you built a wall.
Yep.
Out of how many people do you meet on average per day? Would someone say, hey, you know what? I have constructional skills to build a wall.
Yeah. Well, as they say, necessity is
the mother of invention.
Exactly.
Wow. So what spurred you to take such risks? Because it does seem like a huge one that requires unknowing what the future is like. You put a lot of effort, money, and you don't ever going to get it back.
That was always going to be a big thing, and that was a big concern with my wife. Having a Chinese wife makes a big difference as well.
Helps with the accounting. You're saying,
definitely.
It makes you accountable.
Yes.
This morning when I was having breakfast, she was doing the accounting.
Oh my!
Not a stereotype.
No,
but I love it. I love it. Because the thing is, it is built into the culture to be more predisposed towards that.
Yeah, exactly. So which has actually kept us, going all these years as well. I mean, she's been great at it, and so shout out to her.
Yeah, shout out to your wife, man. I mean, she's like your rock, and I completely understand, because sometimes you seem like a guy who's more of a visionary, right?
Yep.
And I don't mean it like you're just to patronize you. What I meant was like your I don't know, what do they call it? The Myers-Briggs, ENT, whatever. You would most likely be a visionary as
pioneer.
opposed to visionary, pioneer, trendsetter, and your wife would be
has to pick up the pieces.
Not necessarily, but like that type of person who's all into order, organization, and harmony and stuff.
Jason is definitely someone who's not risk averse. I mean, he's been to Afghanistan.
Oh my!
We're gonna talk about that. Yes.
Okay, this is where Eugene, fill me in. What?
There's more suspense first. Let's rewind it. So it started in 2012, right?
Yes, the cafe started in 2012. Yeah.
The Dalat school, the American school, right?
Yeah.
The
international school. Yes.
It came from Dalat in Vietnam. During the Vietnam War, they relocated to this old place. It's called Sandycroft.
Yeah.
Now it's the Dalat school. It's it's an American school, and the magazine there, it already talks about, Jason with his cut out there in pixelated old technology. And it says community cafe. It's already that early on in 2012. What's the link with Dalat? You,
Yes, so I was a teacher over there in Dalat.
Oh, you actually taught in Dallas?
Yes,
Oh,
for 10 years, yes. I was a teacher in Dalat for 10 years, yes. Yeah, my wife and I ran the summer ESL camps for 10 years. So we knew Dalat pre what it is now, the mega campus that it is. We started off with them when they only had about 130 students.
Oh, wow.
And then we started off the summer camps at the school for them, ESL summer camps, and we started inviting all these kids from various different countries around Southeast Asia, or Asia in fact, and then it suddenly took off. So our first camp, we had 150 kids. For 4 weeks, we had student teachers come in from the US to help, which is great, and great for both. And that's how the school suddenly, kind of exploded.
Wait, so these were like workshops, or what were they specific?
English language, English as a second language camps.
Oh, wow.
So we did one every year for 4 weeks. And so we had kids come in from Japan, Taiwan, Korea, Thailand, China, you name it, Indonesia, all around the region. It was great. We had a lot of fun. So we did that for 10 years, and the school eventually ended up starting up ESL department. And that's how it just like doubled and quadrupled in the next couple of years. Yeah. So
Wow.
so when you started the cafe, I remember the menu was very American. Was it influenced by your working there?
Yes and no. So we, coming back to what you guys asked earlier about the concept and all that. So we wanted to come back to something that we said, okay, this is how we want to do community. We want to focus on who and what we have around here. And the one thing that we didn't have, we were thinking, in fact, up to the very last 2 weeks before we opened up the cafe, we were planning on doing lunch and dinner. And then we kept thinking like, okay, everyone's doing this. Why don't we change it up? Let's just do breakfast, brunch, lunch, and that's it. And voila. Okay. So I said, so what do we do for breakfast? What do you know how to cook? This is the conversation that my wife and I were having. Well, I can do scrambled eggs. I can do poached eggs. I can do, different types of eggs. I like eating eggs. So then she's like, why don't you just come up with a menu that you like eating? And let's start with that. If you like to eat it, I'm sure you know how to cook it, and since you're going to be the one cooking it, okay, let's kick off with that. So I liked French toast. I like bacon. I like my ham. I like my eggs.
It just sounds straight up like American breakfast.
And you should know about the menu, the name of the items originally.
No.
What were the names of the items?
Oh, heart attack burger, something like that.
Burgers,
At least he's being
burgers.
honest. He's gonna kill you.
Well, actually, I have to say. So that actually didn't come from me.
Oh, interesting.
That came from my students from Dalat. So I told them, I said, because they were helping me, start the cafe and
It's
think
a
about menu
famous
names.
American restaurant, right? Where they have that. That burger.
Oh yes, they do.
Yeah,
big
with the
ones?
crazy names.
The
Probably they call
kilo
it,
burger or whatever
Yeah,
it is,
yeah.
and they call it
So
something
your
like
students
that.
named.
Yeah, so they said, hey, Mr. Jason, how about we name your burger something? Sure. What are you thinking about? Okay, the single one, let's do a mild stroke. I say you do know that we're in Asia, right? So there's a bit of pantang and all that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Especially with Chinese and Indians, like what? You you're feeding us food and then you're telling us that we're gonna get these things from it. Like, it's not gonna fly. And my wife
Absolute
was like,
honesty.
no.
But the thing is, like, you gotta trust the young to be not afraid of death, right?
Yes.
You know, it's like when
So-
you're inching away, you're like, "Oh, I'm midlife now," and you're like, "Uh-oh."
But
Yeah.
your initial community, right? I remember they were always full of people from Dalat. You know?
Yeah. Well, we started off with a lot of them. Yes, that's right. So yeah, then the other burger, the double one, we'll name it Heart Attack. Okay, and so I said I'm gonna come up with a gimmick burger. You know, I'm just gonna put it on the menu, but I don't think anyone's gonna order it.
Right.
And it's a quadruple patty. It's half kilo of meat, and so what are we gonna call it? Oh, let's just call it quadruple coronary bypass.
Oh my God.
So, okay, done. So, but here's the kicker, right? The one that I thought was gimmicky and wouldn't sell was the one that
Oh my God.
That's
sold.
marketing, man.
So it's like
I
4
guess,
burgers?
Yeah, 4 and 1.
Oh my God. How big are the patties?
150 grams. So just slightly over a quarter pounder.
You do realize it's
So-
like that one whole plate of ground beef that you get at a grocery shop, right? That's 150 grams. Oh, you know?
Yeah.
So you have 4 of those in one. That's crazy.
So how do you develop it? You try out the burgers or you get a recipe somewhere?
I did. I have a foster brother who lives in Johor. He dropped out of school, and he decided that he wanted to get into cooking because he loves food as well. So he dropped out of school at 13 years old. Went in, started working as a dishwasher, and worked his way through the ranks, and he became head chef of this hotel. And so he came up, a couple of weeks before we opened as well, and I said, hey, I need some help, with some of my items. So he came over and spent a week with us, and so he gave me, some different recipes for different things, told me, different ratios and all that. I was like, okay. He said, well, you love eating this stuff. You know what you like. Just, try. You don't know until you try. If it's too dry, add some more fat to it, if it's too fatty,
Wait, fat as in like butter, ghee, oils?
No, actual like when we make ground beef, I make sure there's, like percentage of fat that, goes into
wow.
extra. So we started off grinding our own beef. So I would buy the whole top side. We would go through about 250 kilos a week. Yeah, a lot. So, I had to make sure that, the company would send it, and I said, okay, so I'd get, brisket as well, because, it had a larger amount of fat content on it.
Yeah.
So I'd use the fat from that, in with the rest
Also,
of the
you
beef.
use the prime cuts to put
Yeah,
into your
so
burger?
we did. So it was always for me, it was a no-brainer. Always make sure it's good cuts, because if you use crap cuts, you're gonna get crap burgers.
Yeah.
You know,
But then
you
again,
get-
that was what a burger was, right? All these were back in the day. You had your prime cuts, and then you
Yeah.
had all
And
these.
he has
leftovers.
guts,
Yeah.
A lot of his customers are Americans, so you really got to get the burger right.
That's true.
That's
That's true.
basically, yeah.
We're very particular on their meats.
Yeah. So, and that was the biggest reason why we didn't want to, drown our burgers in sauce. I mean, like in Malaysia, that's the thing. Biggest thing is, okay, you got the burger stand, Uncle Burger, Ramly Burger, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The main thing that you get is, hey, how's the burger? Oh, the sauce damn nice.
Yeah, that's everything else.
Well, I'm not going to name names, but anywhere you go, you ask anyone, most Penangites or Malaysians, how's the burger? Yeah, the sauce, super nice. I'm like, I don't want that, I want my burger to be, to speak for itself, right? And I came up with my own, barbecue sauce and, some other sauces and condiments to go with the burger. So, if people wanted that, then they could add it. If not, then just enjoy it as is.
So do you try it out on your friends and relatives first?
I did.
You
In
did,
fact,
yeah.
I did, a whole night where we invited a bunch of our friends and a couple of different chefs. I said, look, this is what I'm going to be serving. This is how I'm going to be serving, and try it out. Let me know, you know. And so they ended up, saying okay, gave me their thoughts and some feedback, and so I had to tweak some things. Some things they said, as is good. So I just went with that. Yeah.
So aside from like restauranteering, because like I'm just noticing your thought processes when you go and build your cafe or your menu. How did you get to this point? Because it seems like you have added a little bit of creativity, because you don't just want to do a Rumbly burger stall, which is like, open it up on any corner and then make your money there, but you're thinking about like, okay, I want this to be different, which takes a lot of tenacity, bravery. But how did you get to that point? What in your life decided that you wanted to be the nail that sticks out?
Yeah, sort of.
We're among peers here.
Yes.
I mean, we're all nails sticking out,
Yes.
So I just want to know, why did you stick out?
Growing up, I wanted to be a cook, and then I ended up not being a cook, and then but I always ended up in the kitchen anyway. So from a young age, from the time I was about 7 or 8, the weekends I was in charge of the kitchen.
Yeah.
For breakfast, I was in charge. So mom was like, okay, the rest of us are going to sleep in. You go cook, whatever it is.
So it was like an opportunity for you, not a chore.
Not a chore.
Wow.
So that was always, my highlight every weekend. So I liked food a certain way and whatnot. And so I said, okay, I can finagle and finesse some things, and so whatever I can, I'll do, and if not, then I'll learn along the way. As we do, we try not to stop learning, right? We want to continue and grow as we go along, and so that was it. That was I think the love for food is the thing, that has to sort of spur you on to want to do that. If not, then you lose sight of whatever it is, right?
Yep.
But it does sound like you didn't get into the restaurant or cooking first. You did something else in between, right? What was...
Yeah, so I was teaching for a long time. So that's where Eugene, heard me talk about Afghanistan and Pakistan and all that. So
Yeah, we still haven't opened up that topic. You guys are really teasing this point. I'm like on the edge of my seat.
One of the things about this show is like we want people to know, how things happen in the background. It's like, how does one actually start a restaurant? There's is there a manual for it, or you just sit down and think through all the steps? Maybe you can share with our audience, what does it really take to just think through to set up a whole this F&B thing.
Step 1, register with SSM.
It's, it's a mystery.
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding.
It's also considered one of the toughest industries.
I tell you what, so okay, so
It's basic, but I know what you're about to say. Go.
My story is this, right? So for the longest time, I wanted to own a cafe.
Yeah.
Or restaurant, whatever it is. And I've loved coffee from a young age. I wasn't allowed to drink coffee until I was 13 years old. My parents didn't allow me to, or didn't allow us to. And my dad's professor came to visit, and my dad was doing some research work with him. And he came from the US to visit, and I think at that time we were living in Kulim.
Oh, wow.
So he came over to stay for about a month, and he came with a can of his ground coffee, Maxwell House ground coffee.
Do you remember the brand?
Maxwell
the US.
House, yes.
Yeah. So I was 13. I was just allowed to drink coffee, and Dad's professor sees me one morning mixing Nescafe into my cup. So, and I was doing 2-3 teaspoons of Nescafe. My jug, my mug was about that big. And I had about that much water because I liked it strong.
Yeah.
So it's like just stirred it up, and he looks at me like, "What in the world are you doing?" you know. And I was like, making coffee? Do you want some? No. I'm going to teach you how to drink real coffee and appreciate real coffee. It's like, what do you mean? I've got Nescafe.
Yeah.
That's fake stuff. Don't drink that. I teach you how to, appreciate real coffee. So then he brings out his Maxwell House and he shows me how to do a pour over, and I was like, what's so special about this? This is real coffee, just ground, and there's an art to it, there's a form to it. Okay. And learn how to appreciate all this. I was like, okay, awesome. So it's like, wow, okay, this is different. This is not Nescafe. This is on another level. So long story short, he ends up, leaving at the end of the month. But before he left, he said, okay, there's a bunch of coffee left in here. This is going to be for you. And you keep it, but I'm going to send one to you every birthday until your 18th birthday, because I know you can't get it here. So I'm going to send you one until that time, and you enjoy it. And so that's how I got into
The drug business.
The drug business. Yes, I got hooked. And I started needing it, intravenously. But no, yeah. And then so from that time on, I started craving coffee and enjoying it. So when I went to Singapore to study, they had all these cafes already up and running. That we didn't have in Malaysia at the time. Over here, it's all kopitiams here. But when I went to Singapore, it's like, man, they've got all this, the good stuff, and I used to go out and love to, visit all the different cafes. I said, this is what I want my cafe to be like, and I go visit another one, like, this is what, maybe I should think about opening up a cafe down the road. So over the years, I started collecting names of cafes that I liked and designs and layouts and whatnot. And 20 over years later, I come up and yes, you brought up SSM.
Yeah, there we go.
And I was like, okay, it's time for you to choose your name, Jason. What do you want for your cafe name? Holy cow, I've got 400 over names in my
it's like naming a
list.
baby.
I like, what am I going to go for? So, I had a month. So a month before we went and registered with SSM, my wife tells me, have you decided on a name? I said, no. Okay. So a month long, scratch. Can't, no. Okay. So still, whittled it down to some. So a week before, I still got 100 over names. It's like, have you decided? No, I can't decide. I love all these names. Work on it. The day before I was supposed to go to SSM, it's like, how many names you have? I've whittled it down to my top 10 names. I don't know. I don't know how to cut it down anymore. It's like, you have to. They only take 3 names, right, on the paper. It's like, I can't decide. It's like, so anyway, I took 10 names, went into SSM, and took the form, filled up. They've got 3 slots there. I filled 10 names into the 3 slots. And the makcik that was at the counter, she's like, 3 saja. I was like, I can't decide, I like all of them. Tapi kena pilih 3 saja. I was like, okay, can you put it all in the system? Whatever comes up first, I'll take that.
Oh, chance.
So you're like, Gusto. Okay, settled.
That was it.
And that was
good
like,
name.
so the first one that didn't come up as a repetition somewhere else, right? So, and it's like, okay, that's the one I like as well, because in Spanish and Italian means good food, good flavor. And in English, a lot of oomph. So, hey, how can you go wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also
So-
at the same time, I feel like anybody who's like in Gen Z, they're looking at this process because nowadays what would happen is that the prompt would tell you is like, there's already another company with that name.
Yes.
Choose another name.
Yes.
Or you're only limited to 3. Right?
Oh,
This was an actual, like, it's like, wait. Again.
Just of all the people in Tanjung Bunga who wanted to know in an alternative universe what Gusto could have been, what were the others? They didn't make it.
We had. I'm trying to remember. Actually, Hillside was going to be one of them because it was at Hillside.
Hillside.
Yes. So we didn't take it. Somebody else took it.
And now, right now, opposite Gusto.
This is Oh, wow.
Damn it, we could have had that.
But then that's a little bit of history right there because you have Gusto and it would have been Hillside, but then somebody else was Hillside.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't remember. There was a company that was going to be named something else, but wasn't,
Yeah. I can't remember. I still have the list.
I got a
think.
good tidbit here.
Was that?
You know, Intel, the microprocessor company.
Yeah.
So the founders were Gordon Moore
Yeah.
and Noise.
Yeah.
So if you put together, it'd be more noise. That's it. No, that won't work.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's one of those things you have to.
Well, unless you're a guitar amp company,
Yeah.
more noise, But
I think the other one that I remember was my wife was saying, well, just name it after yourself. Jason's Place.
oh well,
Jason.
there's a lot of that
That's
already.
right.
You know what?
Exactly.
Like people
So,
use,
and having come from New Zealand, New Zealand's got this whole line of Jason things like coasters, plates, and place settings.
Even in this
and
show,
whatnot.
season 1, you're the second Jason.
Jason's a common name.
Great name.
Yeah.
So so we so that's how we.
But you may know the other Jason. Brother Jason.
Brother
Jason
St.
Blakey.
Xavier's.
He's also from St. Xavier's.
Oh,
For
okay.
some-
I did 2
Starting
years.
to notice a pattern in your gesture. No, I'm kidding. I'm just
No,
joking.
no,
around.
no. It's just a pure coincidence.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I came to,
To Gusto.
to opening up the cafe. I learned when I was in New Zealand, when I was teaching in New Zealand, I had a friend who owned a cafe, and I used to hang out, and so I learned how to roast coffee at his place. I learned how to, make coffee, serve coffee, drink lots of it.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember in 2012 was the coffee culture, not the kopitiam culture, but the one like in Melbourne. Has it already started?
No,
Not yet.
no, not at all.
Not at all.
The coffee culture, I was about to strangle some of the Starbucks and Coffee Bean employees back then.
Because they did bad.
I'm not going to knock their coffee. I hate doing that to anyone, but just the fact that coming from New Zealand and Australia, and having worked there, coffee at 4:30 in the morning, you can grab a coffee anywhere.
Yeah.
Over there. Over here, 10:30 in the morning, and I'm like, bro, come on. Give me my coffee.
And
there weren't any other coffee shops here at that time, right? So when I was teaching at Dalat, so a few of us would, in between classes, like, okay, you're free now, right? Can you run down, or can you run down? Like, so we'd do that. We'd do coffee runs. We'd run out to Starbucks or Coffee Bean and try to grab a coffee. 10:30 in the morning, we're trying to knock the door down to get coffee. And like, what are you thinking, dude? Coffee. It needs to be like early in the morning. So for us, when we first started out, I opened up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So the coffee machine was ready. So guys who would head out to the factories, especially the expats who knew that we were open, would swing by and come and grab a coffee from our place. After a few years, then my wife's like, "You're nuts, man. Just stay in bed for another hour and then
And then like 20 years later.
So it is true that it has been said that people from Malaysians in Australia, and New Zealand, all that, they brought back the culture, right? The coffee.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Starbucks and Coffee Bean are just about non-existent in these two countries. In New Zealand.
In those. Wow.
Yeah. So
I didn't
boutique cafes were and I guess still are the rage. Because people.
Before Starbucks and Coffee Bean, they already had a culture.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you actually know how to roast your own coffee.
Yeah, yeah. So learned how to do that, and got a great friend. One of my colleagues from Dalat was also a barista for many years. So when we opened up the cafe, he came over every weekend to help. Great guy. Shout out to Derek Smith, and for his influence, because with him, being there, it just solidified a lot of the stuff that I already knew, and he just helped me become a better coffee roaster and maker.
But the beautiful thing about your story, right? I don't know if you realize that you would go to certain points when you say back before Starbucks and Coffee Bean. Because the thing is, this is one of the things that I want people to know, and this is me personally, what I tell people. It's like sometimes when you see that you don't have something around you, you don't look at it as a detriment, which is what most people do. They come and say, "Oh, we don't have a McDonald's, we don't have coffee," back in the day. But having grown up in a sense and having a couple of decades on you, you realize that nothing comes out of nothing. You have to be the one that builds it. Or if you want a McDonald's, go be a franchisee. You want to have a Coffee Bean, go for it. Or in your case, you were just like, you know what? These franchises, nah, I want my own thing. I learn it. I bring it back. I build it.
Yeah.
And then now it's such a common thing that people don't remember that, it used to be not as lively. I don't know.
Yeah. And now it's great, So that was the other thing when we first opened up, a lot of folks was like, we had people coming in, taking photos of our menu and, the layout of the cafe, and they wanted a video, I mean, making the coffee. And I'm like, aren't you afraid that, they're going to steal your ideas and whatnot? I'm like, no, because this is just helping somebody else improve, on what I've already built. Because, if somebody else can get better at doing this, more power to them, because that's what we want. We want to grow the coffee culture. We want to grow this industry, and you learn. So if I start falling back, then it's on me, because then I know I need to upgrade myself and get better at this business. Otherwise, fall along the wayside, I guess. Yeah.
Why do you think people are so afraid of that? Like, that's the one thing I've heard a lot of throughout the years living in Malaysia, where people are always afraid, like, hey, don't send your proposal, they might steal your idea. I'm like, steal it.
Yeah.
I mean, because for me, it comes down to this. They can steal it, but the execution is still with
exactly. That is it.
Yeah. The secret sauce is actually not the coffee, okay, to mix metaphors. Yeah. It is actually, like he says, his secret thing is the community. Which is what is a very forward idea now, because community branding and all that. Is now everybody does it, but that was a very forward thinking. Yeah.
And of course, it must be scary. I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, a lot of the things that we take for granted now. Digital marketing, for example. When I first started in digital marketing, right, people thought it was a plaything.
Yeah.
It's like this thing that like the workplaces would ban social media, and then when I started specializing it, people treated me like I was a kid with an arcade game.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened. Mind you, this wasn't so long ago, this wasn't like, this was just before COVID.
Yes, actually.
And then COVID finished, and then next thing you know, I was like prime candidate for whatever.
Time out. Mo, you need to understand. Before COVID is to today, it's like that's the new one generation away already. That's a gap. Can you imagine that?
Can you imagine that we lost 2 years and I still can't remember what happened to those 2 years. I mean, it was the same monotonous thing every day. You wake up same place, you don't go out. But yeah, I mean, that was my point is like you could have just sat on your laurels, take a normal 9-to-5 job and do nothing and create nothing.
Yeah,
and you could have complained. But you actually took the risk and built it. And Gusto is like a monument to that hillside. Every time I pass by, I see it. You know, like I have memories from a decade ago of performing there with a rock band. You know,
of the loud music and me getting a call, you know, from the people at the market and up the hill.
Yeah, I heard. Mind you, we were blasting. Yeah.
That was awesome. We still remember that till today.
Yeah, I feel bad. Because I wasn't like singing like, you know, oh, dude. I was like, bruh, you know, when you remember.
So for our audience who didn't get what is going on here, Gusto Cafe, you know, is also a place for
it's a
artists.
Community.
Yeah, it's a community. Jason has paintings back then, you know, right?
Yeah.
For sale, for artists can put.
Yeah, art shows and.
How early on did you had live music performances?
When did you play at the cafe?
That was actually 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's quite early.
So 2013, I think the year before that is when we started doing open mic evenings.
That's right, your open mic evenings.
Yeah,
we showed
so
up.
we started up at open mic evenings, and then you came and sang at the craft beer lounge.
Yeah, and alongside with Volatile and
yeah.
a couple of other bands as well. Yeah.
If anybody took videos back then of Mo, post it on the People of Penang, you know, Facebook.
Actually, yeah, if you have those videos, please, you know, that.
I think somebody should have some.
Do you?
I have to check. I might have some of
I
it.
just want to see how rowdy I was a decade ago. I probably was, you know. COVID mellowed me out. No, really, because I was such an extrovert. I never wanted to be at home, right? 2 years of being indoor, I was just like, I just don't want to go out now.
Maybe a neighborhood cafe, but the list of musicians, you know, have gone through. I mean, we put the list there. It's quite amazing. Yeah.
I think that was the other thing that I wanted to make sure that you know, because I love the arts, so I love, you know, I try to support the arts as much as I can, and so that was, you know, the thing that I wanted to make sure that we had, you know, artists who could, you know, who we could provide a safe space to present their stuff, especially the newbies, right? Or even like with open mic nights with the singers who thought they couldn't sing and come out and like, hey, look, you can sing. You know, you're great at this. Maybe you should think about a career in this, whatever it is. And so for me, you know, because, you know, having been a musician myself and coming from a musical family, we always, you know, wanted to make sure that, you know, there's space for that, a place for anyone. And that's how we started up the open mic nights, and then we started up working with some of the local artists from around here. We did a collaboration called The Big Draw, where we live cast between London and us, you know, while we were at the cafe.
Oh, wow.
And they were doing their art stuff over there, and we were doing, you know, we had invited all these different artists and kids, you know. We just said, hey, if you like painting, drawing, here's a bunch of paper, you know, here's a bunch of all the colors and tools or whatever, you know, pick what you want and, you know, show us your art, you know. And we wanted to let parents know that, you know, that there's an avenue, there's an outlet, there is a growing culture for all these various things. Because a lot of times, you know, with Asian families, it's doctor, lawyer,
engineer.
That's it. You know, what, you want to be a musician? No, cannot. What, you want to be a cook? No, what the hell?
Well, you didn't just break one of those stereotypes. You are like a whole list of things you're not supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Every single one.
So, you know,
Coffee shop owner, check. Musician, check. Yeah.
So
How far are we from Pakistan, Afghanistan?
Oh, we're getting there.
Oh my God.
Okay, so over to you, since you're the question master for
it's
this
all
evening.
you know. It's all has a flow to it. Let's rewind a little bit. Tell us where you came from, Jason. A little bit of your family in the early days, and how you end up in Penang.
Oh, okay.
Well, you're from Kulim at one point.
Yeah, one of the places that I've stayed.
Yeah, you went around the world. So let's hear the story
One
now.
of, oh God.
So I grew up in a lot of different states and whatnot because my parents were working with the government. My dad was a vet and my mom was a healthcare nurse, rural healthcare nurse, delivering babies and whatnot. So we moved around every 2 years, quite a bit. And then in the late 70s, they decided that they didn't want to do that anymore because the church that they were involved in, and not just the church, they had a lot of their friends and young people come up to them and talk about relationship problems, marriage problems, family problems and all that. So it's like, maybe this is what we should be doing instead of, treating animals and, doing. So they ended up going for training and more schooling in therapy and psychology and addictive behavioral studies and whatnot over the years, and so they started working on that. So we moved around. So basically 4-5 states in Malaysia I lived in. Then we moved overseas to a couple of different countries as well. Lived overseas for a little while, came back, and then we ended up in Kulim again. So Kulim was round 2. So mom and dad were in Kulim, based in Kulim, doing working with the government. And then when they came back, they decided that they wanted to make Kulim their home base and start up their sort of practice there, right? Family therapy, counseling, whatever. And so that's how I ended up in Kulim. And from Kulim, we moved to Penang. Moving to Penang was for track and field because I was running track and field at the time.
You were a runner.
Yeah.
Wow, that's your list of resumes of things you've done.
Athlete.
Yeah.
Oh, you were
Right,
at some
there we go.
SEA Games or whatever, right?
Junior Asian Games and Junior SEA Games. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Check
400.
Right?
Yeah.
Renaissance
Shop
man.
owner, musician, athlete.
It's a full-on Renaissance man. That's it.
Asian Paris Nightmare.
Include physics,
no,
science, and
so-
chemistry.
so,
So,
yeah,
Da Vinci.
we come back to it. It's a jack of all trades and master of none, right? Same,
Oh,
You're a master of some, you're a master
But
of
the
some.
real saying is better than a master of one. Jack of all trades,
Yes.
but better than a master of one.
Okay.
Well, you're not Jack, you're Jason.
Okay.
Jason of all trades, better than a Jason of one.
So you stayed in the States for a while, is it?
Yeah, I lived in Hawaii and lived in California for a while. Yeah, and
You stayed in one of those places? This,
Oh, yeah,
this guy's
New York.
Watan America, by the way.
okay.
Well, my parents were Malaysian. They were studying there, and because my mom was developing the language faculty. So, like for example,
nice.
we're in Hawaii because the University of Hawaii was known for.
Oh, you were in Hawaii too, so
Yeah,
both
yeah.
of you have a link. Yeah.
You were in Hawaii?
Yeah.
What year? 1990 to 1990. No, so 1990 to 2000.
You're a lot younger than me, so I was there 1980 to 84.
Oh, I was in New York around there. Yeah. I mean, I was a baby, obviously, but yeah. So my parents were there to study how the University of Hawaii helped document and revive, in a way,
Yeah.
the Hawaiian language. So it was part of what my mom wanted to do, was documenting oral asli Aboriginal languages.
Okay, cool. Wow. That's very cool.
Penang is truly a cosmopolitan place. You know, you cross paths in different islands.
Oh yeah,
around the world.
yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. So lived Hawaii and California for a while, and actually I did educational development for rural areas, which was kind of a very small field at the time.
Of course, very specific.
Very, very specific because we wanted. I was interested in going, traveling overseas and.
Were you influenced by your mother because she's also doing the rural service?
Yeah, well, I like anything rural, and I like anything outback, in the middle of the jungle, and I think growing up, seeing my parents help people, that sort of spurred me on to do something similar, and that's what I picked. So did the course in Singapore. Then my first posting I got was in Thailand, working with UN at the border at one of their camps.
You an employee, check.
What in the world? What?
Yeah, so I was teaching English at one of these refugee camps in between the Burmese border and the Thai border. Yeah.
What the heck, dude?
Many segues.
I'm sorry.
That's why you can't describe Jason.
I mean, forget about being doctor, lawyer, engineer. Like, you do realize you are straight out of a novel, right? Your life. So UN border, okay.
I actually told him he should write his,
Yeah, so I did.
story one day.
Did.
This is a preview.
I did that for a year in Thailand, and then left Thailand, came back for a short break. Then the unfortunate thing is, this is the thing, right, with war-torn countries. So the campsite that I was teaching at, a week after I left, that place got bombed by.
Oh my God!
By the
a
army.
week after you left.
Yeah.
Does that bother you? That if you had
Yeah. Of course, my mom was, freaking out. Like, even having me back home, she's still freaking out when she heard the news, because they come over and visited us, and of course, made friends with some of the people there at the camp.
This is the late 90s, is it?
No. Late 80s.
Late 80s. Yeah.
That's how old I am.
Oh, if you check on the internet, I stumbled one day. There was an article about his parents, and there was his whole family photo there. If you guys from the 80s, he has some kind of MC Hammer hairstyle.
Can't touch this.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, it's online.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Hey, it's the zeitgeist of the time.
Hey, that was the mullet
Yes.
do back then, right?
Yeah.
It's coming back into fashion, I hear.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah,
mullet's
yeah.
back. Mullet's back. I'm just waiting for emo hairstyle to be back. That was when I rocked it.
Yeah.
You look so sad.
Yes.
But okay, so you were working at the border that you specialize in the infrastructure of education in small rural areas.
Yeah.
And then after that?
So I came back from that, then went to Pakistan, worked in Pakistan for 2 years.
With the
same
United
group.
Nations.
Before we move on to the exciting part, I think our audience would like to know, how does one actually work for the United Nations?
Well, it's just a teaching. Yeah, so you just apply to be a teacher with them. Yeah,
So
that's it.
Just how do you actually do it? You just go to their website or whatever.
Back then, yes, wasn't a website. They I guess they had a call center, and then I had heard about it, and I actually went to one of the road shows that they had in Singapore. And so that's how I got in touch with them, and I said, look, I'm a teacher. You guys need teachers? Yes, of course. This is what we're doing, and blah, blah. Okay. So I said, well, here's my resume. So that's how I ended up. Yeah.
For those of us who've never been to those areas, like when you first encounter, the sites of violence and all that, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, you've got 101 things that run through your mind. Of course, before getting there, the moment you get there, it's a whole different ball of wax. Like being in Thailand, I loved it. Days where we would have. I took a group of actually students from Penang to visit, and even when we were visiting. We were driving into this village by the border at night, and they had to be under cover in the middle of the night. The truck driver's turned off all the lights. It's pitch black, but he knows the road like the back of his hand, because he's traveled back and forth so much, and that kind of scenario, so to speak. So there's a bit of tension, but it's great. I mean, people are friendly. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you really feel out of place. I just really enjoyed my time.
I was just curious, when you went for the interview and got the job, did they give you any briefing about what you would face? Because
yeah. So they told us, there could be, we could be under fire and we could, be in danger. And
that didn't faze you one bit? You didn't think like, what the hell? Because
it gives the phrase, I could get fired in a literal sense.
like literally you could get fired.
Yes.
I mean, because the closest I've ever gotten to some dangerous situation like that was early in my life when I was bodybuilding. I got into being in the world of personal bodyguards, and the first day, the guy who hired me was like, well, going through the whole briefing, and then I was just being cheeky. I was like, so what happens if we get shot? And what surprised me was like, your medical bills will be covered, we have insurance for you, and also we'll pay you 75,000 per bullet. And I was like,
what?
No, it wasn't the fact that the amount, it was the fact that they had a plan.
Yes.
Like they expect you
Yeah.
to jump in front of the car. But for you, did you have a similar situation?
Similar, yeah. So the UN, they have a emergency evacuation plan that they've got laid out for you. For each country, it's different as well. So being at the border between Myanmar and Thailand, there's one plan. Being in Pakistan wasn't so much because I was teaching in Pakistan itself, so it was easy with the refugees, Afghan refugees there. But yeah.
Wow.
Just tell us about your time in Pakistan. We'd like to hear about that.
I loved it.
How do you end up there?
Again, through the same group, I just applied to go, and so I went.
Oh, is it by missions? I'm not sure what's the correct term. So you're not a permanent employee. You just apply to go on a tour or whatever you call it.
No.
Or contract or whatever.
Contract basis,
okay.
Contract basis with them, and so we got the job and was there for 2 years and a bit.
Which part of Pakistan?
I was based in Lahore. Started off teaching at one of the small colleges there, and then but that was because they wanted to slowly transition us into being there long term. So ended up being at the UN refugee camp teaching the Afghan refugees in Peshawar for a while, and that was insane.
Was this this is the Soviet Union time, right? Or is it the later wars?
Yeah. Soviet Union. So you could get all the Soviet Union paraphernalia on this side of the border. Guys, with the match down, like, oh, Soviet watch, oh, Soviet gun, oh, Soviet gas mask available.
Yeah, for some of our audience who don't know what happened in the 80s, Soviet Union was at war with Afghanistan, with the occupation. That was before the American war. So
sort of like the Russian version of Vietnam. Americans had their Vietnam, Russia had
if you're old enough to know Rambo, is from that time.
Oh my God! They even.
It is actually about that.
I remember they edited it out years later, but I remember an old VHS of one of the Rambo movies. I think it's the first or second one. In the beginning, it literally says this movie is dedicated to all the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, right? And obviously that didn't age well, So after like 9/11, right, I started to notice that very same movie, whenever it came on, right, they would always remove the first 10 seconds because they had that.
So from Pakistan, how do you end up go visiting, Afghanistan? Let's hear the story.
So during my summer break and Christmas break, we would get a chance to. Everyone would get a chance to go home, right? But I basically told my parents, no, I'm not doing any of that. I am going to stay here. I'm going to be traveling, and so I did. It's exactly what I did. I made friends with a lot of the locals. Pakistan, again, another amazing country. I loved my time there.
What was the deepest, most meaningful memory that you have from Pakistan?
Everything. I loved every moment of it.
Was it already Lahore? Is it a high altitude?
No, not at all. Oh my gosh. When it's hot, it's hot. Okay, so summertime, everyone's complaining here at 40 degrees, and the humidity, right? They have a joke over there, a town just outside of Lahore called Multan. And one of these guys from Multan died and went to hell.
Okay.
And the guy's in there and he's got a blanket. So Satan comes up to him like, "The hell are you doing? Why why do you have a blanket over you? Man, it's freezing in here."
Oh my God.
That's how hot it is.
It's so hot that it's hotter than hell. That's the butt of the joke.
Hot, yeah. It's unimaginable how hot it is. I would go into the shower at night, turn on, fully clothed, stand under the shower, get myself all wet, go to my room, turn on the AC, turn on the fan. I have a spray bottle on the side of my bed. I spray my bed wet. I lay down, half an hour, 45 minutes later, everything is dry.
Oh God.
It's so hot.
So it's an arid kind of environment. Is
The
it?
first half of the summer is the second half. Then that's when it hits you, and it hits you like a brick wall. So that's when you find out when you go to the toilet the next day, and this is literally next day. Okay, so one day it's like completely arid. The next half of the summer, the next day, it's like 100% humidity or even more. If there was such a thing, you'd go to the loo. You'd sit down, on the loo, and by the time you get off, there's a pool of sweat
Oh God.
around you because you'd be like, everything's just dripping off, and that's how bad it was.
So everybody's constantly perspiring.
Yeah.
Like
So, and because the sun comes up earlier in those places, so by 3 a.m. everything's buzzing, everyone's awake. Businesses are running already at 3 a.m. They run to about 9 a.m. Then everything shuts down until the evening again.
Oh wow.
Because it's too hot to do anything.
Oh
Because it's so hot to do anything. So like even like regular
all
offices
of-
and all that,
Society was just like,
It just-
nah.
this is our siesta time.
Gotcha,
We're
gotcha.
shutting off. It's too hot to do anything. Anyway, yeah. My house that I lived in by myself, 5-bedroom house.
Yeah.
My cost of living per month, I spent 250 ringgit every month. That's it. For my rent, my utilities, and all my food.
I want to cry.
Wow.
No, I really do. Hearing those numbers, like I want to cry.
Of course, this is like way back when, right?
Yeah.
But can you imagine? And I had this fruit guy who would come out, and we had peaches that were about that big, juicy as 50 cents for a bundle of 5 or 6. I bought apricots by the kilos, of big bags of it. $2, $2, not $2, $2. So I told my parents, I was like, you guys need to come over and enjoy some of this, all the. First time ever I saw a mango that's literally about 15, 18 kilos.
How?
Oh my goodness.
How?
One mango, yes. How?
How is that possible?
They have that over there. You can go check. If you think I'm faking it, go check. Giant mangoes
Challenge.
of Pakistan.
Look
go
for
check it
mango.
out.
Organically, or is like what?
Organic.
If you guys can find
Completely
it,
organic.
Okay. All right.
Post it on our
Yeah.
Facebook page.
They have mountains of it, of these giant mangoes. Insane. So anyway, so coming back to summer months, so I went traveling. So I went up to Chitral, I went up to Gilgit, I went up to the Kailash Valley. Kailash Valley is phenomenal. It's one of my all-time favorite places in Pakistan.
So you're generally heading more north, is it?
Yeah. So ended up going to K2 base camp. Also great
Second
hike.
tallest peak in the world.
Wait, yeah, that's what I was like just about to say. Okay.
Yeah.
Near Everest or on the
Yeah.
way to.
And the Kailash Valley, you find descendants of Alexander the Great there.
Oh, because he did pass
Yeah.
on his
So
way
he
to
did.
India,
Wow.
then he
Yeah.
patah balik because he couldn't win.
Yeah. and I stayed with the family, father, mother, and 7 kids. Mother had gray eyes, father had almond eyes. All the kids in between had just about every spectrum of the rainbow color eyes. Blonde hair.
Straight up Greek lah. Oh my
but
god.
don't speak a word of English or Urdu or any other local language there. So they had their own language. Of course now
Were they Pashtun?
no,
No.
they were Kalash.
Kalash.
Yeah, very.
Oh, you're not
indigenous.
at the border yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, from the Kalash, then I could see the Khyber Pass.
Oh, the famous Pirate Pass.
Yes, and so that's when it's like, I gotta cross it.
Yeah.
I gotta make that crossing.
I came, I
close.
saw, I crossed.
Yes.
Wow, a little bit of Julius Caesar here,
Which
right?
is-
We went
which
from
is-
Greeks to Romans.
Which is nice because being this color skin, you can get away with crossing it as a local.
Yeah, of course.
Technically not supposed to, as a foreigner, but yeah, just crossed over, came back.
Says you don't stick out, but that's also another thing,
They
like
never asked for your passport?
No.
Oh, wow. Is that like open border?
No, so yeah, it's like being a Thai national, and crossing over into Vietnam or Laos. They let you cross over.
you have like a border,
a
border pass thing, right? Like
Yeah.
a day or two. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't
exactly.
remember.
You know what you were doing, right? You were walking into a war zone. Yep. That's it.
Did you even
but
think
still,
about it? I mean, at any point, or was it just so normal?
You do, but you're young, dumb, and
Oh yeah, we know the rest of that.
Oh,
one. You
yeah,
can say
yeah.
it if you want, but that's on you, bro.
yes. So you just hell. Yeah, no, I'm doing it.
So you were like 10 years after, the hippie times where before the war, where they all go there to hang
Okay,
out in Afghanistan.
I know the guys on the video chat are not going to be able to see this, but I'll pull up one of these photos from back then, and I'll show you.
All they can see it, we just have to move it close.
Or is that, or like in the post,
Yeah, we can post it.
No. It's a little-
Oh, this is just for our eyes. Okay.
This is just for.
Could we describe
It's
it?
our privilege, sir. Oh, he doesn't have the long hair in this photo here.
That's a field of.
Amazing delicacies.
Yes.
Oh,
So this was something
This
that you
is
came across
out in the wild. It's everywhere.
out. Oh wow!
It just grows wild everywhere. I was like, when I stepped off the bus, I'm like,
It's some medicinal herb.
yeah.
yeah.
I stepped off the bus and like,
Oh, because Afghanistan, India, like poppies.
all that, yeah. So this was
'Cause it's
one,
natural to
and
that
then of
region.
course the poppy stuff was on the other
Yeah.
side.
I mean, all that stuff aside, but the thing is, because that region is known to have all these type of plants and stuff like that, right?
But for them over there, it's nothing much. They use it really for medicinal purposes.
Yeah.
They use it for stomach
It was
ailments.
only in the
and
western
all
side that they created all these drug laws.
Yeah, everyone
I'm very
started abusing
surprised that
it.
they just let you stroll across without even asking you a passport.
They didn't. They just.
Well, he did say that because he's brown, like
yeah.
locals.
Oh, that's his passport.
Yeah, exactly. If he was Caucasian or half Greek or
no,
some
then
Greek, they'd
definitely
be like,
they
"What
would've
is this
stopped,
blonde
like-
hair, blue eyed guy?"
stay over. Yeah.
How deep in you went into Afghanistan or just the border?
Just the border.
Just the border.
I just crossed over for the day basically, and then came back. Yeah. But even then, say, hey, how many people can say that?
Not
The
many.
Khyber Pass, man.
He crossed the Khyber
Khyber
Pass.
Pass.
Yeah. It's the many armies that were defeated, at the crossing it.
Did you ever get shot at?
No, but we had a lot of that in Peshawar. You know how we have hawker stands with char kway teow and all that? Over there, they have hawker stands that will rebuild guns and ammunition for you.
Hawker
can-
stands that will rebuild guns for you.
Yes.
Like what? Like
you
or
can
fix it?
they'll fix it or they will make it brand new for you. You bring in a
Warung
sample.
senjata lah.
They'll bring you can bring a sample and they'll rebuild it for you and say, okay, come back in 3 days. We'll have how many do you want? 10. Oh, okay. 10
It's
of
like
that.
sending your laptop to a shop. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, brother, I would like my AK-47 to be fixed. It's
Yes,
little,
yes, yes.
and it's like, okay, okay, I fix it for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
God.
You celebrations and all that. You'd have AK-47s going off.
Like in the what incident?
Exactly. Exactly like that. Exactly like that.
Wow. So it became a cultural thing because it was so easily accessible that why buy fireworks when you can get a gun?
Yes.
Oh wow!
So
I can't imagine what that's like, But then again, you are obviously way more well traveled than I have. You've gone through the crevices which I've never thought of going.
some.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what
You know,
was it?
we just gone through a few countries. He's been to 15. At least stayed there, not just traveled.
Yeah, and he seemed like we're talking about really going down in the trenches and stuff. Like, put yourself in danger and going across various parts of the world where most people, because like I said, there are certain perceptions to all these things. For me, I look at it as there are two facets to it. One, you have the knowledge of why the war on drugs came about. Very political, very all kinds of things. I'm not saying drugs are good or bad. That is not it. I'm looking at it from a legalization point of view.
Yeah.
And then, as opposed to you have the flip side of the world, well, Afghanistan, Middle East, and and India, that specific portion, these are just, you would leave garden and it will grow there by itself. That's how natural all of these are, and then people within that area, the Pashtuns especially. I managed to get close to a Pashtun family when I was in Hawaii, and they would explain that, her grandmother would always put a little bit of those kind of herbs on stuff,
exactly.
Their medicinal values, their clothes are made from the fibers.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like how people would look at Alexander the Great, but they would always leave out the fact that he lost to Indians.
Yeah. Of course.
And then they were like, oh, why did he lose to that Asian empire? Well, because he had mutiny and the people were like oh, come on, excuses, really?
Yeah.
Just say you didn't score the goal. What is this? Oh, he didn't score the goal because he's nervous. It's like, oh, come on, But it's like that,
Yeah.
The Indians were well organized, way better fighters that they defeated Alexander the Great.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you saw his troops, the Greek remnants,
leftover.
the leftover Greeks.
Yeah, which is kind of mind blowing. The middle of nowhere, and you see all these blonde hair, blue eyed kids running around and like
Proof that Alexander tried to go in but didn't come out. I mean, tried to go in, didn't happen, and he went out. Sorry,
Yes.
Wow. Time sure flies, huh? So maybe we can just talk about one
Oh my God,
interesting
has it?
topic. In the F&B, like we went across the war zone, right? You know what you were getting into. The pandemic, it hit the world.
Yep.
Especially hard for F&B business. How did you survive that?
I think actually the cafe was the thing that saved me. Speaking for myself, and I guess my wife as well, because we had an excuse to come out and set up shop and serve coffee and do takeout, right? That was the thing that kept me sane, I guess.
Doing something meaningful.
Doing something meaningful, still getting, not being cooped up. Like a lot of people were cooped up at home, right? And couldn't do all that. So, at least half my day was spent at the cafe. Although we did have, our share of drama, at the cafe, with, KKM, with police, with, vax people, with anti-vax people, you name it. But everyone said they lost a lot of business during pandemic. We lost some as well, but we probably lost maybe about 15-20% of business compared to a lot of others. I think one is because we were basically a neighborhood cafe, so people get
Your community had your back, right?
Yeah, they did. They definitely did. But everyone was able to walk out of their apartments. That was the excuse. Come out. Oh, I need to get a cup of coffee. I need to get a sandwich or a burger, or whatever. And so we would make that available, and So that's how we made it. Definitely, the community around us, saved us, kept us afloat. when we saw so many others, just struggling and shutting down and having to close their doors. Yeah, so that was yes. Thank you very much to everyone who supported us. Yeah, definitely.
It's the power of community. So would you say that because your parents, in community work also influence you? Because to be honest, your cafe is just a community center masquerading as a cafe. I mean, you have to supporting artists, having community boards, meeting places and all that. Was it subconsciously or consciously influenced?
Good question. I think all the above, possibly subconsciously and consciously. We wanted to make sure that it was a safe space to be in for anyone and everyone. We wanted to make sure that it's. I think the thing that coming back to the original question, right? The thing that made us want to make it a community cafe is because of the fact that we'd lived overseas so much already, and being in the shoes of an expat, so to speak, overseas, I knew that it could get lonely if you didn't mix and mingle and get to know the people around you, and I always. I was fortunate enough to be around people that, invited me into their home and made me, feel like part of the family. And so I didn't feel that way. But I know that if I wasn't, invited, if I wasn't part of the bigger picture, I would have felt really alone and lonely in all those countries that, I've been in. And it's only because of them that I felt that I had a safe space, so to speak. And so we wanted to create that for people who were here as well, expats and non-expats. We've got locals who are also from out of town who live here and. They're living on their own, and so we say, hey, you come join us. We've got games night, Thursday night. We've got music night this night. We've got this art thing happening. Come join us. Be a part of the group. We've got a great group of older folk that walk up Pearl Hill every Thursday and started up. We just celebrated the anniversary, 11 years of them walking up the hill, and they started out at the cafe, and all of us was like, hey, do you know so and so? Do you know so and so? So they walk up the hill as well, and how hard is that to do, right? Instead of okay, you sit over there, and I'm going to sit over there. I'm going to mind my own business, and although we walk up the same hill, we don't know each other from Adam, which is the thing nowadays. You live in an apartment. Do you know your neighbor? No. Do you know any of the people that walk through, the lift with you? No, right? So where's the sense of that community? So that's what we're trying to avoid. Create that atmosphere where I remember when I was a kid, my classmates used to come to my house, and have a meal at my place. I used to go over to their place for a meal. Indian, Malay, Chinese, it didn't matter. We really muhibah, right? And everyone got together. All the families around the neighborhood would get together and celebrate whatever it was. And so we've lost a lot of that nowadays. And so we need to come back to that. Because that's what actually helps us get through a lot.
And you're spearheading the way for that. I mean. We've lost a lot, but what I'm also seeing is that, thankfully on this island we have, this state, forget it, bro. We have people like you, and all the people.
That's the difference of you and the chains, You're a community builder, that's what you said many times. You're not just providing hot beverage, you're providing a community. So.
And the beautiful part is, right? I mean, I'm starting to see through this podcast, like you as an individual, like you are projecting what you wish to have for yourself. Like you value community over anything. Like the way you talk about your past, your the friendships you met through your travels, what you've seen, and I know you've glazed over many parts, especially the hurtful
corporate
ones, but
social responsibility is always the buzzword, right? In this case, it was built from the beginning to be
It's
just
honest.
Part
It's
of it.
honest.
It's part of it. It's not something add on. It's the whole business is so.
Because the thing is, for me, right, to be honest, Jason, what I've always noticed, those who give the most at some point in their life have suffered the most. Now, I'm not going to, again, that's not what the podcast is about. I promised you, we're never going to delve into that. But I think whatever you've gone through, right, you've created a really beautiful thing here within your community, you know, and then I am honored to have you on the podcast, actually. I'm very glad that Eugene made this possible.
I think the people in Tanjung Bunga are very happy that your cafe has made our life more richer. Yeah.
Thank you for the invite. I mean, it's
No, thank you for just your
Privilege
presence.
and
Thank you
pleasure
for
to be
being
here.
here and talking
Almost
and being
our
honest.
time.
And
Before we leave, do you want to tell anything about the latest developments at Gusto or whatever?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. We have been in Tanjung Bunga for the last 12 years, you know. We've been at the one spot where you can see us very clearly, you know, out in the main road, but we've just shifted over to our own space downstairs in the garden wing. Some of you might have been there before, and it's a great cozy space. Eugene's hanging out there a lot nowadays. We've got an AC section too.
is that? Oh, wow. Okay, community.
AC section.
Right.
For those of you who read my articles in the Penang Monthly, they're all made with his drum at his place. It wouldn't be possible without it. Yeah, it's just a nice sanctuary to type and write stuff.
Mo's been there as well.
have,
You've
many
been
times.
down, you know, in the garden space as well. But yes, we have moved over. So if you see the shutter doors at the upstairs section closed or pulled down, make your way down, you know, down into the garden area where you see, you know, a lot of plants. You'll see the banner and all that up at the moment, because we don't have our signboard ready yet, but it will be up soon. We don't have a lot to offer in terms of food just yet because our kitchen's not quite ready, but we do have sandwiches and pastries and, of course, drug of choice.
Coffee. But most importantly, I think community. I think that's that's what's most important, you know.
Good conversations, that's important.
Conversations, you know. And again, like, you know, thank you for being here. And I think that we can stop at this point. And you've actually
You know,
allowed us to have a
after
very
all this
beautiful end.
talk, we didn't know how to introduce him, but now it's pretty clear. There you go, folks. Jason, community builder.
A renaissance
Yes,
man,
yes.
as they come.
Yeah.
Warrior, educator, engineer.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Thank
I'm sorry,
you.
where did the work? I'm sorry. For some reason, I was thinking like Rambo. Sorry, not warrior. Educator, entrepreneur, social entrepreneur.
He's social entrepreneur, yes.
Thank you. All right. Been a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you for being here. All right.
Good.